Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
That's great. Nicole smiled. She did not want to reveal that she had inquired Jared about Mr. Ellison's taste beforehand. Nicole heard from Jared, who was an old acquaintance of Mr. Ellison, but he stopped all collaboration with Mr. Ellison because of Harvey. Jared did not want any further ties with Mr. Ellison for personal gain. However, Jared's cafe at Royal Creek Institute remained open this whole time. Mr. Ellison continued to frequent it since the coffee was special and unavailable elsewhere. Nicole did her homework when she decided to visit Mr. Ellison. She was quite close with him before. The slightest slip might give her away. That was the reason Nicole brought Lulu along, to cover for her. "I'm happy you came to see me. After all, that grandson of mine." Let's not talk about him," Mr. Ellison said with distress. He never imagined Harvey to turn out the way he did. Mr. Ellison had to cease all collaborations with Jared because of Harvey. With all the horrible things Harvey did to Nicole, Mr. Ellison thought Nicole would never be willing to see him again. "I just had tons of things to deal with after I returned. Don't think too much about it," Nicole reassured him. "What's more, you're not even in charge of Ellison Group now, so there's no need to keep a distance." "I won't. I'm just glad you're safe and sound," Mr. Ellison exclaimed. When Nicole disappeared, Jared announced that he was protecting her by keeping her out of public eyes. However, Mr. Ellison was still worried about her since there were still rumors circulating about her disappearance. Mr. Ellison was genuinely happy when Nicole returned safely. "All right, enough with the past. I'm here to visit you." Nicole did not want to talk about her 5-year disappearance. She had not recovered her memories, so even though she claimed to visit Mr. Ellison, there was no past to reminisce. And with Harvey's involvement, Nicole did not want to expose too much about her situation to Mr. Ellison. Mr. Ellison guessed that Nicole might have been through something difficult, so he did not press further. Time passed quickly as they sipped coffee and casually discussed past and present school events. Seeing it was about time to go, Nicole bid her farewell to Mr. Ellison. "We'll leave now and visit you when we have the chance." "Sure thing. Come over any time when you're free," Mr. Ellison readily agreed. He hoped Nicole could come over more often. After all, he was practically a loner now, and he sometimes craved company. "Goodbye, Mr. Ellison," said Lulu. Nicole had a faint smile. "We're off." "All right, I'll head back as well," Mr. Ellison said while leaving his seat. Leaving the cafe, Nicole noticed Mr. Ellison's forlorn figure walking back toward the campus. She frowned and said, "Mr. Ellison seems to have something on his mind." "Really? I don't think so." Lulu glanced over, not noticing anything. Nicole averted her gaze. Maybe she gave it too much thought. The two then got into the car and headed toward Riddle Corporation. They met Mr. Ellison in the afternoon, so surely Harvey had already gotten the news by now. Hopefully, this would have dispelled his suspicions about Nicole. At Ellison Group, Harvey did receive the news of Nicole's visit. Slightly shocked, Harvey asked in a grave tone, "What did they do?" "They just sat at a cafe across from Royal Creek Institute. They were also accompanied by Ms. Riddle's assistant," Harvey's assistant replied. "Lulu," Harvey frowned. Nicole went to see Mr. Ellison with Lulu. Despite the fact that they were close, Harvey felt it was unnecessary for Lulu to come along. "Mr. Ellison has gone back to Royal Creek Institute and Mrs. Johnston must have returned to the Riddle Corporation." Nothing seemed out of place. "It was an ordinary meetup," Harvey's secretary said. "You can leave." Harvey gestured for his secretary to leave. His secretary acknowledged the command and left the office. Harvey leaned back in his seat, his gaze dark. Nicole really went to see grandfather. Did I guess wrongly? Why did I have the feeling that Nicole had changed? It wasn't how she looked or her personality. Nicole seemed exactly the same but different from before. There was something off about the Nicole now. I didn't even feel this way when she used to avoid and detest me. What's going on now? Harvey pondered. He gritted his teeth. Puzzled. However, It was alright even if he could not figure it out, as the truth would eventually come to light. All Harvey had to do now was get Riddle Corporation in his hands as soon as possible, leaving Nicole no choice but to find him. That way, he would finally get to satisfy his unfulfilled desire from years ago. As the sun set, there was the lingering light of the twilight. When Nicole left the office, she was surprised to see Lawrence's car outside the company. Lawrence got out of his car, striding toward her.
"Leo, what's up?"
Nicole asked. She wondered why Lawrence came without contacting her or going into the company to find her.
"I was waiting for you to get off work and treat you to dinner.
Well, would you do me the honor?"
Lawrence smiled. "You're asking me now."
Nicole looked at the time.
Lawrence frowned. "Are you busy?"
"Not really." Nicole shook her head and explained, "I just want to go home."
"In that case, I'll be frank. I do have something minor to discuss with you."
Lawrence looked around briefly and shrugged.
"But this isn't the right place for it. We should talk over dinner."
Nicole bit her lip and contemplated.
"All right then."
If they were about to talk business, this was indeed not the right place to do so. Nicole sent a message to Jared and left with Lawrence. Arriving at a restaurant, the two of them sat down and ordered their meal. While waiting for the meal, Nicole asked directly, "What's the matter?"
"I'm considering a joint trade venture.
I'm currently looking into a few companies, so I wanted to ask if you're interested in getting in on it," Lawrence proposed with a gentle gaze.
"Joint trade venture, you say?" Nicole frowned. "Tell me more."
"I'm thinking about 2 companies at Macrunia and 3 companies here at San Joto. I've already contacted Smith Core Enterprise, but all the other companies were far from satisfactory. After some consideration, Riddle Corporation seemed to fit the criteria, so I came to ask you."
"As for the joint trade?"
Lawrence explained his conception and ideas seriously.
Nicole nodded.
"The plan's not bad.
I'm sure things would go smoothly at Macrunia since it's your own place."
After all, Genesis Group's recent projects were not doing well. Lawrence's current choice was suitable for Genesis Group's development.
"So you're in?"
Lawrence was filled with anticipation.
"I'll have to sleep on it. I'll tell you tomorrow."
Nicole did not want to accept it immediately. The project proposal was decent, and it was well suited for Riddle Corporation's development prospects. However, Nicole still wanted to discuss it with Sean and Steve before promising Lawrence. For some inexplicable reason, Nicole found herself unable to be as open with Lawrence as she used to be after the electronic badge incident. A fleeting thought crossed her mind and Nicole's expression stiffened slightly. The investigation into the electronic badge seemed to have stalled, with no progress at all. The badge system Nicole helped Lawrence decrypt also seemed to hit a dead end.
"What's on your mind?"
Lawrence softly questioned, noticing that Nicole was deep in thought. Nicole snapped out of her thoughts and looked at Lawrence.
"Oh, it's nothing. I'll have Lulu inform Ian about my decision."
Lawrence was slightly confused as he felt that Nicole's mood was strange. He could not understand the sudden sense of distance from Nicole. She had always kept her distance from him, but never as distant as today. "Did something happen without me knowing?" I had indeed rarely visited Nicole nowadays after my company was suppressed by Jared. I had to lead my team and avoid Jared's attention to stay afloat. Only then did I have the time to meet up with Nicole. Recently, Lawrence had carefully analyzed the reasons for his failure. He believed it was because his foundation in San Joto was not solid. So he wanted to contact his forces in Macrunia to support Genesis Group. With Nicole involved, Lawrence was convinced it would be difficult for Jared to control him. The waiter interrupted to serve their meals.
"Excuse me, your dinner is served."
Then, neither of them brought up the previous topic. It was like an unspoken agreement, and Lawrence would wait for Nicole's decision.
"Let's eat."
Nicole's emotions had calmed. She gestured to Lawrence with a faint smile.
Lawrence chuckled. "You too, I've ordered all your favorites. You should try them."
Nicole nodded. "How are Nolan and Lana doing lately?" Lawrence asked with concern.
"They're fine.
Nicole's demeanor turned soft at the mention of her twins. Spencer and Samuel are going to get married, and Lana is clamoring to be the flower girl. Lawrence raised his eyebrows. Well, isn't that double the joy? Please congratulate them on my behalf. Sure thing, Nicole said. Don't forget to send me an invitation when the time comes. I'll come and toast to their happiness. Lawrence smiled. I will. Lana could finally get what she wanted. Lawrence's eyes held a hint of fondness. You should tell Lana that I'll have someone. Send the outfits for the flower girl and ring bearer. That's not necessary. We'll prepare those, Nicole refused. The one from home is their effort, but the one I'll prepare comes from my heart. Lana is such a pretty girl, so her flower girl dress must be the prettiest too. Don't worry. I'll prepare it for her, Lawrence said, proud. He was determined to prepare Lana and Nolan's outfit. Nicole was left speechless. She could only reply, thank you. Lana and Nolan will be very happy. I'm their godfather. You don't have to act so formal in front of me. Lawrence waved a hand. He acted as if it was his duty to buy gifts for the kids, even if they were not the flower girl and page boy for the wedding. Nicole knew that Lawrence sincerely loved the kids. Her eyes softened. While chatting about the kids, they both finished their dinner. Looking at the time, Lawrence offered, I'll send you home. Sure, Nicole replied, standing up. Then, the pair walked to the car and left the restaurant. After a while, the car pulled up in front of Nicole's place. It's still early. Can I go in and see the kids? It's been a while since I've seen them. I kind of miss them, Lawrence attempted to ask. Nicole could not reject him, so she replied, sure. They entered the house, and in the living room, Gloria and Daniel were playing with wooden blocks with Lana and Nolan. Hearing some noise coming from the door, all of them lifted their heads and looked at the entrance. When the kids saw Nicole and Lawrence appear, they could not help but scream and run over. Mommy! Godpa! Seeing those two little cuties, Lawrence smiled and squatted down. He hugged Nolan and Lana for a moment and then released them. Nolan was reluctant to let go, so he pulled Lawrence's arms as he asked, Godpa, what are you doing here? Lana had already taken a step back, but she also looked at Lawrence doubtfully. I've been very busy. I thought of seeing both of you since I have some free time today. Did you miss me? Lawrence asked, gently patting Nolan's tiny head. Of course. If you didn't visit me, I was planning to meet you during the holidays, Nolan said seriously. Haha. I'm happy to hear that. That means you still love me. Lawrence smiled happily. Come and have a seat, Lawrence. Gloria and Daniel stood up and welcomed Lawrence politely. Lawrence stood up and nodded at the two. Gloria, Daniel. Sorry for interrupting. It's just that I've missed the kids a lot. No worries. You saved Nicole years ago, so you're our savior. You're welcome to visit anytime. Daniel was still smiling politely. Take a seat and have a chat. Nicole gestured for Lawrence to sit down. Lawrence and Nicole led the little kids to the sofa and sat down. Previously, Nicole had informed the family that she would not be home for dinner. Gloria and Daniel knew that Nicole would be eating out with Lawrence, and that they must have had some important matters to discuss. Seeing that both of them were seated, Daniel shot a look at Nicole as if he was confused. Then, Nicole shook her head to signal that nothing was going on. Seeing this, Daniel did not question further. He knew that Nicole must have her own reasons for her actions, so he did not want to bug her about it. Lawrence was casually chatting with everyone. He quickly got along with Nolan and Lana. He was happily playing with the wooden blocks with them. The whole scene seemed as if Lawrence had done this countless times. We have a visitor. All of a sudden, a cold voice sounded, and the atmosphere in the living room became heavy. Dad. Lana happily ran toward Jared, opening her arms wide and falling into Jared's embrace. Jared lifted Lana into his arms and walked to the sofa. He glanced coldly at Lawrence. Mr. Jared here seems to be a busy man, Lawrence said, acting casual. I'm not as free as you, Jared responded in an unfriendly tone. This guy had already brought Nicole out for dinner. And now, He has the guts to come into the house. Isn't he a little too free? I'm no match for you, but life like this ain't that bad. I get to hang out with friends and play with the kids. Seems like a pretty good life to me. Lawrence's tone sounded calm, but he was secretly trying to provoke Jared. As long as you're happy with your life. Jared, who was carrying Lana, sat down beside Nicole as he shot Lawrence a cold look. Seeing that the two men were about to start another argument, Nicole rolled her eyes and said, "Both of you are like friends who haven't seen each other for a long time. There's so much to talk about." It was obvious that they were going head to head with each other, but they still pretended to be chatting pleasantly. It was really annoying to watch. Lana looked up and innocently pointed out, "Mom, Dad, and Godpa aren't chatting with each other. They're pretending to be polite." The corner of Nicole's mouth twitched. She tried to suppress her laugh. Even a little kid could tell. Aren't they embarrassed? Jared looked at Lana and smiled with a doting look. He seemed to be proud that his daughter could read his mind. Nicole could not help but smirk. This angel is really different. Jared's calm reaction naturally caused Lawrence to not feel embarrassed. In fact, Lawrence turned to Lana and smiled. "Lana, you've become smarter now." Lana giggled and smiled happily. Daniel and Gloria glanced at each other. They found the scene to be funny. This little one was extremely adorable, so they just took Lana's words as a child's blabber. "Daniel, Gloria, it's getting late. I should get going." Lawrence got up, readying to leave. Daniel immediately called out to the house butler, "Alfred, please see him out." Lawrence patted Nolan's head and said, "I'm going now. I'll come and play with both of you next time." "All right. Bye, Godpa." Although Nolan was reluctant to let Lawrence go, he knew there was no way he could make Lawrence stay. Lana echoed, "Bye, Godpa." "Goodbye. Remember to obey your mom, you hear?" Lawrence advised. "Got it." Lana and Nolan responded in unison. After watching the butler send Lawrence off, Nicole turned to her parents. "Mom, Dad, it's getting late. You guys should head upstairs and get some rest." "All right, you all should head to bed soon too," Gloria said. Then, she walked up the stairs with Daniel. Nicole turned to Nolan and Lana. "You guys should get ready for bed." "Okay." While speaking, Nolan and Lana pulled Jared and Nicole to the stairs, urging them to go to bed too. After tucking Nolan and Lana in bed, Jared and Nicole went back to their room. "You've been pretty busy with work. Did something happen at the company?" Nicole asked out of concern. Seeing that Jared had been working extra hours over the past few days, Nicole could not help but worry. "We're preparing for a bidding and the timeline is pretty tight. So I had to work extra hours these days," Jared explained in a gentle tone. He engulfed Nicole in his embrace. Nicole relaxed. "I see. Luckily, there isn't any problem with the company. If I could gain some care and attention from you, it wouldn't be a bad thing for the company to have some problems too." Jared smirked. Annoyed, Nicole rolled her eyes. "Hey, don't ask for it. Who on earth would think that a problem is a good thing?" she thought. Jared gently stroked Nicole's hair and said, "All right, I'll listen. Nothing will happen." After that, Jared lowered his head and kissed Nicole on the lips. Meanwhile, after he left the Riddles, Lawrence headed back to his villa. There, Ian gave him a report in a low voice. "Sir, Ms. Nicole brought Ms. Lulu along when she met with Mr. Ellison. I've looked into it, and it seems that Ms. Nicole hasn't regained her memory. The reason for her sudden visit was most probably Harvey." "All right," Lawrence replied. After meeting with Nicole, he felt that he might have been overthinking things. As for Harvey, he has gotten the news but has yet to make a move. "I'm guessing he's waiting for the results from Dillcorp," Ian continued. "Ignore that. They're just fighting each other," Lawrence said coldly. Because of Nicole, Lawrence paid attention to the happenings in Dillcorp. However, it did not pique his interest at all. So, he did not want to get involved in their feud. After all, they were no match for Nicole. Nicole had definitely surprised Lawrence once she returned to San Joto. She had the guts to take over the Riddle Corporation's headquarters even without regaining her memory. On top of that, she also helped the company grow. As for the rest of the Riddle family, they were lackluster in terms of managing a business. The only thing they were good at was stabbing people in the back.
Noted.
Then Ian carefully questioned again, "Sir, about the crest."
I didn't get a chance to find out about it today. I'll find another chance next time.
When he went over to the Riddle family's house, he was stuck in the living room. After Jared returned, he did not have a chance to dig any information out. The only way for him was to find another chance to visit again.
It would be ideal if he could get into Nolan's room.
Lawrence knew that there was a computer in Nolan's room. Although Nolan was the only one using it, Lawrence had found some internet records tracing back to that computer. So, that computer might contain the information he had been looking for.
It's quite challenging.
Ian was not enthusiastic about it. This was already a dangerous thing, and an opportunity to visit the
house would not come by easily.
Even if it's challenging, we have to do it. Lawrence's eyes turned dark. He was determined to get whatever he wanted.
"Yes, sir,"
Ian replied respectfully. They had planned this for a long time.
So, there was no way they would accept defeat. The consequences were clear as day if they lost.
Lawrence leaned on the car seat with an evil look in his eyes.
It seemed as if he was planning something in his head.
The sun was now shining brightly, and the breeze was blowing gently. In the chairman's office in Riddle Corporation headquarters, Lulu was carrying a stack of documents in her hands as she entered
the office.
After she placed it on Nicole's desk, she whispered, "Have you heard the news?
Dillcorp is in trouble." "I haven't heard."
Nicole raised an eyebrow calmly and made a guess. "Has Rain made a move?"
"Yeah."
Who would have thought the biological sisters would go against each other over greed? And a merciless fight at that. Lulu's lips twitched, her face showing a disdainful look.
"Fill me in."
Nicole leaned on her seat and smiled as she waited for Lulu to explain.
"It's unbelievable. Did you know?
Snow betrayed Dillcorp just to get married into the Ellison family. Snow secretly signed an agreement with Harvey, and she basically sold off the whole company to him. Thank God you arranged someone to secretly hint Rain about the matter. That was how Rain managed to save Dillcorp at the very last minute."
"I'm telling you."
Nicole narrowed her eyes and spoke in a cold tone. It's been so many years, and yet she's still this naive. Did Snow really think that as long as she agrees to all of Harvey's requests, he would marry her?
Nicole thought.
Lulu nodded in agreement.
"I know, right?
At least Rain has shown some improvement. Why is Snow acting so stupid?" Rain also did the same for James. Nicole's gaze darkened. If it were not for James, Rain would not have this level of IQ. Lulu nodded aggressively again.
"You're right."
As for James, Rain also brought it upon herself. At the thought of all the bad things James had done, Lulu gritted her teeth. We really can't judge a book by its cover.
We always
thought that Rain had married a good-for-nothing outcast from a lower-class family. But now, it seems like James was never actually stupid. Now, Rain has to rely on James. Naturally, she won't notice any odd behavior from him. From the looks of it, Rain would be more and more dependent on James. After all, Rain was not a calculative person. I'm afraid she won't realize it as a weird thing even when someone points it out to her. With a few words from James, Rain might even turn around and blame anyone who tries to warn her. In the end, everyone else will be the bad guy.
You seem to
know her very well. Nicole's gaze was cold. If anyone were to tell Rain that James had an affair, Rain would get angry at that person or even think that they were trying to stir things up between the couple. Lulu shrugged her shoulders. Well, I've known her for many years now. A crossed look appeared in Nicole's eyes. These are their private matters. What I'm worried about is that James' targets aren't these things.
That's impossible. What else would he be targeting?
Lulu blinked her eyes in shock. James had helped Rain own Dillcorp. Not only that, Rain was very dependent on him as well. In other words, the power is in his hands. Nicole narrowed her eyes again and spoke solemnly, "Not all humans can resist the temptation of power." No matter how much faith Rain had on James, it would never compare to having the power in one's own hands. Not to mention, James was not loving toward Rain anymore. Or perhaps, one should say that he had never loved Rain from the start. "What you said makes sense." A burdened look appeared on Lulu's face. Everyone knew very well the kind of person James was. Just like before, how would he easily let go of his goal? No one knew what the end result would be. The atmosphere in the office became heavy instantly. The air felt dense. Knock, knock, knock. After a few knocks came from the door, a slight opening formed in between. Steve peeked in and said, "Have you heard?" Nicole looked over at the new visitor and asked in a soft voice, "About what happened in Dillcorp?" "Yeah." Steve opened the door and entered. Nicole nodded lightly. "I've gotten an idea of what happened. I'm just worried about Harvey and Everett." "Don't worry." Steve smiled and continued, "Uncle Dylan isn't that slow. Now that this matter has been exposed, he'll know what to do." "Is he capable?" Nicole frowned. She had always thought that Uncle Dylan's management skills were mediocre. However, he was good at cheating people. Would he be good enough to face someone as powerful as Harvey? If he can't, then there's nothing much we can do. After all, there's no way out of this. From Steve's tone, he did not seem to be worried at all. In fact, he seemed to be enjoying the drama. Nicole bit her lip and thought, "That's true. Uncle Dylan doesn't have a way out of this anymore. The only thing left is for him to fight with all his might." To add on, James was still involved. He would never let the company fall after building the company to where it was. From the looks of it, there was still a chance of winning. Nicole heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. "Well, we'll leave it to them then." As long as they did not lose Dillcorp, Nicole would just be a bystander. After all, she still saw those things as the Riddle family's belongings. If Dylan could handle it, Nicole would not spend her time and effort on them. If they could not handle it, she vowed to take it back on behalf of her grandpa. He would never let any of the Riddle Corporation's business fall into anyone outside of the Riddle family. As for Everett, even though he was greedy, Nicole would never give him a chance to gain anything. "I guess we shall sit and wait," said Lulu. The situation at the moment was unclear. The only thing they could do was watch from afar. Nicole nodded. "Send some people to monitor closely." "Don't worry," Lulu assured Nicole with a serious look. After she finished speaking, Lulu turned around and left. Steve glanced at Nicole and was hesitant to speak. "Steve, is there anything else?" Nicole was confused. Ever since the incident, Snow had been missing. No one knows where she went. She wouldn't do anything to harm herself, right? Steve was a little worried. She wouldn't dare. Nicole felt that Snow would only put the blame on others. She would never realize her stupidity and idiotic side. If that's the case, where would she be now? Steve's eyes darkened. Nicole narrowed her eyes and said, "What are you worried about?" "Initially, I was worried she might not be able to handle the truth. After all, this is the second time she would be getting rejected by Harvey. One could imagine how sad she would feel. But since you said she isn't that daring, I'm now worried she might try to take her revenge on Harvey," Steve said, as his analysis. Since she was not daring enough to hurt herself, she might hurt others instead. There was no way she would keep quiet and act as if nothing happened. That's possible. Nicole sighed. If Snow were to tolerate this incident again, Snow's love for Harvey was truly blind. Steve noticed Nicole had no interest in Snow's affairs. "I'll leave now if there's nothing else." "Okay." Once after Steve had left, Nicole leaned into her seat, deep in thought. The situation now in Dillcorp is much more progressive than I anticipated. Things are still within my control. I'll ignore this for the time being. Meanwhile at Dillcorp, the atmosphere in Dylan's room was immensely tense. Dad, we still have to find a way to save this, Rain persuaded in a low voice. Do you think I'm not trying to? Dylan gritted his teeth. Our plan to take over had really backfired. The initial plan to marry into the Ellison family went down the drain. Who knew that Don Harvey had tricks up his sleeve? We almost lost our entire company. Snow, this damn moron. She really thought someone like her could marry someone like him. If she had realized his ulterior motive sooner, we wouldn't be in this situation. Dad, can we put this matter aside and solve what's important? Harvey won't leave our company alone. We can chit-chat about those later when we settle our company's affairs. James butted in, showing his dedication toward Dillcorp. Dylan raised his eyebrow at James. Tell me, what plans do you have in mind? Previously, James had partook in influencing Rain's decisions. Otherwise, the company would not have overcome the crisis. Before. Up until now, Dylan had not paid much attention to James. James took a glance at Rain before speaking. I think Ellison's plan is to take over our company. I don't think he'll be the one who will take us down in one shot. We might still get a chance to fight back. Go on. Dylan frowned slightly as he ushered James to continue. His expression became serious. What I meant to say was, if Harvey really wants us to be broke, we need Rain to transfer away some of the company's assets. Otherwise, when he takes over, we'd be left with nothing. We just need to make sure that it seems like we have transferred our assets back, to make them have the impression that we have let our guard down. When Harvey takes over the company, he would realize that nothing was left, and the entire company would be useless. Dylan was silent, a serious look on his face as he carefully analyzed what James had said. Dad, I think we can trust James's idea. If it weren't for him, we'd be left with nothing. Rain spoke up, trying to persuade after realizing her father was not speaking. James nudged Rain. Don't be hasty. Let your father think things through. We'll execute it with careful considerations. Rain immediately shut up and looked at her father. She was very anxious as she waited patiently for Dylan to speak up. Dylan finally managed to speak up after a while. Okay, let's do it like this. However, Rain anxiously pressed. However, it's not an easy task for us to accomplish, let alone secretly, Dylan said with a hint of uncertainty in his voice. If Harvey doesn't give up, he'll certainly pay more attention to our company. Our plan seems to be pretty solid, yet if we were ever to be found out is another story. What do you think? James asked softly. Dylan looked at James, before hesitating, gritting his teeth. I'll leave this matter to you. Me? James' eyes bulged out. He had not seen this coming. Yes. Since you're not at the center of attention, leaving this job to you should be better. It'd be difficult for anyone to find out. It was there and then that Dylan realized the use of James in the family after Preston refused to join Dillcorp, and with Snow being a complete idiot being head over heels with someone out of her league. Rain was Dylan's last and only hope to continue. The company. If James could help, it would be better than doing this alone. Rain did not give James any time to consider. She quickly agreed on his behalf. I think it's doable. Rain knew that if this matter were to be left in James' hands, it would be much better. After all, the future of the company would be in their hands. James gave a look of satisfaction to Rain. He could only nod along with Rain's decision to move on without arousing suspicion. In that case, I'll leave this to you. Dillcorp's future will be in your hands. When I retire, I can safely entrust this to you too. Dylan nodded as if he trusted them both. Don't worry about it. We'll make sure everything works out just fine. Rain and James nodded simultaneously. If you have anything, just tell us. We'll do our best to get it done. Dylan nodded his head in agreement. Let's do this one by one. Let's save the company first before we expand for the future. Rain and James synchronized with one another, replying, okay. Both left the room shortly after. Rain turned to look at James with a smile. We're so lucky to have you. Now that we have his trust, the future of Dillcorp will be in our hands. I believe we can do it. It's all thanks to your hard work. James looked at Rain dotingly. Rain smiled shyly. It's all your hard work too. You can do well even with or without me, said James modestly. Flirtatiously, Rain said, no. We're a team and we'll be together, always. Rain did not like James before. However, now that she had seen how useful James was, it had become an asset to her. Her ultimate secret weapon. James nodded happily. Rain smiled as she walked toward her office. On the side, she did not realize James' expression had changed. A look of disgust appeared on his face. When I get my hands on everything, I can do whatever I like. I can ditch this bitch once and for all, thought James to himself. As the sun was setting, the slanting rays of the sun gave a warm orange tinge to the sky. The streets were bustling with people rushing to get home after work. Nicole had just walked out of the office building when she saw Lulu standing on the curb of the road. Anxiety was written all over her face. Lulu, why haven't you left? Nicole called out to Lulu. Spencer hasn't arrived yet. I tried calling his phone, but there was no answer. Lulu sighed. She kept glancing at the busy road to catch a glimpse of Spencer. Her eyes were full of worry. Spencer had promised to pick her up from work. However, Lulu had been waiting for him for a while now. He had not arrived and was unreachable. Did something happen to him? Thought Lulu. Nicole frowned. I don't think him being held back by something would cause him to be unreachable.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.